Good morning. 58 after 9 o'clock. Can you believe it's the 29th day of January? Ooh, nothing's flying by. Year's flying by already. Can we already say that? I guess we can technically just say that as of January 2nd. Howdy, y'all. Hope y'all staying warm, trying to stay safe. Been looking at your comments. Those of you who are commenting on YouTube and on Twitch, on Facebook. Very mixed feelings. Some really want snow. Some really are over the snow. It's always that mixed blend when you get snow on the ground like this. All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning to you. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to Snow Talk. Now, normally I would be showing Snow Talk here behind me, but the system, it's not working today. So instead, you get the lovely radar. But you probably want that anyway. But I kind of miss the flakes flying behind me. We'll get it working, I promise. Always something. We'll blame Kevin. I'm sure he hit a button somewhere. He's not watching. Don't worry. He probably is. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through these light snow chances. And right now, yes, just about everything I'm going to show you does look light. Will it cause impacts? It likely will. So even though it is a light snow setup, the ground is frozen, as we know. So even a half-inch of snow is going to cause some slick travel. It's a little more problematic with these light snows than you get into several inches of snow. It's a different ball game because now you're dealing with everyone that's going to still try to venture out. And that makes it overconfidence in driving becomes a problem in this scenario with these lighter snows, and we end up with more crashes. So while they're all light, my concern with this is it's going to be just a bit of a thorn in our side and headache in the coming days, not only in forecasting on them all, but certainly when it comes to impact on travel. So please just take it slow. I'll explain more detail, I promise, coming up in a second as we decipher them all out. All right, let's start with the snowboard. Well, I always like to begin there, right? Okay, so here we go. On the snowboard itself, we're going to go with a light snow setup that'll begin tonight. Flurries first, and then we're going to go with a period of light accumulating snow for part of the area, more so Friday, and then another round of period of light snow showers as we get into Monday. And then another few hours looks like of snow. This one will be a little bit more of a wet snow for late Tuesday and Wednesday. So if you're looking for the one that you can make a snowball with or try to build a snowman, this has potential to do that. The problem is, will it have enough of a kick over us to even give us anything? So that one's a bit in question, but it would be a light snow just or a wet snow. And then we get back to snow showers again. Looks like for Super Bowl weekend. So we're going to be in a pattern of constant chances, but no big snow that I see right now in the data, but a lot of little ones coming through. Which, hey, that's not too bad, but it will be a bit annoying. I'll admit that. It will be a bit annoying on the recovery part of it all to try to get out of this mess, and at the same time, for those that want the big snow, they're going to be frustrated. All right, we'll get into the details. I'll get to some of your questions and comments coming up, I promise. First off, a live look at Ollie International. Again, another shot of those MD-11s. Those are the ones that were grounded after the awful accident with UPS in November. There will be the ones that will be towed likely off the tarmac there and head into a different area, probably into the scrapyard. We'll see. But those are the ones that have been grounded. Been sitting there, by the way, since this all happened. But they're still there here at Ollie International. All right, but enough of that. Look in the distance. See the snow on the hills there, Jefferson Memorial Forest. Still a good snowpack. I'll show you those amounts here in just a second. We've got 20 right now in Louisville. Look at the difference, though. You can definitely tell where you got the deeper snow, right? 3 in North Vernon, 2 in Seymour, 10 in Jeffersonville, and then 20 in Louisville, which we have a sudden jump. And then generally teens surrounding the metro there, and then 20s to the south. Quite the range this morning that we've got. The feels like temperature. Well, we don't have a lot of wind, so the wind chill is not really a factor. So yay, that's something. This is the estimates of the snow that's on the ground. I think it's fair on placement and amounts as well. Technically, we have 4 inches at the airport, about 6 inches into Highview, the National Weather Service, Highview, Fern Creek area. So I think this map looks good. And it certainly matches up with a deeper pack there into our northern counties, where you likely have more than 8, still likely 12 to 16, but still, deeper north, lighter amounts to the south. All right, so this is going to be tough to get rid of. And the modeling is going to be important here. Some of the models, like the HER model, says that Louisville has 15 on the ground right now. GFS, I think, has 12 inches in Louisville right now on the ground. So the models are a little off on what they have on the ground. So we're trying to factor that in of how well do they have the thermal profile of the atmosphere. So that's why there's a little bit of fluctuation, some of the models on amounts and how this whole storyline progresses. We're looking at all those finer details. I will say that the NAM seems to have the better idea on that idea, but it has its quirks on other things. So it's a pain when it's like having multiple personalities with models here. You got to keep up with them all and different situations. So it's a bit of a challenge. We're all putting our heads together to come together with the forecast and factoring all this in. So it's not just we take a model face value and run with it. We look at the model and then see if the model's got a problem. And if it has a problem, then we either adjust our thinking, what it shows, or we throw it out. And that's just part of forecasting that we have to do. So be careful for you model watchers out there. You take something and show it on social media. I know I'm going to say don't do it. You're going to do it. But if you're going to do it, just be mindful that there are some issues with all of them really right now. Okay, enough of my rant on that. Let me show you what it looks like from space. You can see the snowpack revealed there from the high, thin clouds. Kind of a hazy looking sky. And we do have more clouds building in from the west, which will be our flurries that will start this afternoon. They will be very, very light. I don't see them being impactful flurries for this evening, but some flakes will be flying at times. We get into a bit more of a heavier piece when that giant high finally settles in. Part of the polar vortex will sink into the Ohio Valley. That will induce a bit of a heavier band. And I say heavier band, I mean heavier than flurries, but an accumulating band. That's a better word. Accumulating band of snowfall that will develop near Louisville, but I think it's going to be south of Louisville for your Friday, and then push quickly into the south. That will eventually feed into the winter storm there for the Carolinas as we head into this weekend. All right. So, in fact, there's winter storm watches already out for the Carolinas. They've had a fun couple of weeks, right? And there may be another system even after this. I'll show you in a second. So, yeah, they're busy there in the Carolinas into the mid-Atlantic. Could we get a winter weather advisory out of the batch of snow that moves in for your Friday? It's possible. It's another one of those situations that the Weather Service would look at criteria, typically, 1 to 4 for an advisory. But in this case, a half inch is going to cause a problem. It will cause more slick travel. So even if there's a half inch in the forecast, you may be under an advisory. So it's possible. And they may decide that as early as this afternoon or later on tonight. I'm not sure. That's their call. But just letting you know, if you hear about a winter weather advisory, don't automatically assume that you're going to get a lot of snow. It doesn't mean that. It just means that impactful winter weather travel. Look at it that way than the amount. Don't pay much attention to the amount. You've already got snow on the ground. So don't get stingy. I'm just teasing. You already got snow on the ground. So it's not so much the amount now as it is just any more impacts. Are we going to get back to slick travel on areas that have been treated well? And if your neighborhood roads have just been plowed enough to where the sun's taking care of them, they've actually dried out to the pavement, great. But if they don't have treatment on them, then this type of snow will only just add another coating and you're back to the square one. It may not even be enough to plow, but you're back to slick spots. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's what we're looking at over the next few days that will kick off an active pattern. Cold weather alerts. Well, we don't have any yet for this weekend. I think we will. At the very least, I think a cold weather advisory is likely to come out, but we could get an extreme cold warning for at least part of the region, especially north. And I think the cold weather warnings will probably go all the way down, maybe even go to Miami. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they're going to be massive. This is a a very, very cold air mass that is sinking in. And everyone's like, well, it doesn't seem that brutal. Everyone keeps talking about it's another big Arctic blast coming our way. Well, excuse me, it is a very cold Arctic air mass. The issue now is that it's been so cold that they're very similar now. If we didn't have the one that came in that got to the point of bringing us the snow, it probably would not, this would stick out in a big way. But now that we've had them back to back, they're very similar in intensity. So you probably really won't notice a huge difference on the relationship between the two, but it will be very similar to what we had when it first arrived. Those wind chills were double digits below zero. All right, so just kind of heads up on those cold alerts that will likely come out. So let me walk you through it. Here is one of our high-res models that does have the idea of the snow on the ground, so that's why we're using this one here. You can see the light snow flurries again this evening. Can't rule out a dusting. I guess it's fair, but they'll be so light. The moisture content in the atmosphere is very, very shallow. So these there'll be very tiny flakes, more like Arctic dust being thrown at us, right? Now, once we get into Friday morning, now we're getting a little bit more lift with the actual vort that's moving in that'll eventually become the Carolina system. And it's coming on the bottom side of that Arctic high. So that Friday is the day that will begin to sink down into the Ohio Valley and into wave country. As it does so, the snow band will have a little bit more of a kick to it as we evolve through the day. And I think in this case, just from gut experience and watching this, when I've seen this play out before with Arctic air sinking down, these snow bands tend to move fairly quick to the south. I don't think they're going to linger very long near 64. So we may see the start of the accumulating snow, but I think your better opportunity is going to be near the parkways and may even be south of the parkways, to be honest, as far as duration time, and therefore a bit more higher amounts could develop. If you're in Indiana, you may get grazed by this initially, but again, it's going to be on the move on sinking down at a pretty steady pace. Same thing. So as we get into Friday morning, this is rush hour tomorrow morning. All right, we should have a band of snow in the area, maybe snow in the metro, but if you're in Bullitt County, E-Town, and Bardstown, you should have a sticking snow, new snow, sticking to some of the untreated areas. Your cars, once again, very, very light, but again, slick. This will likely impact some travel. This is the time period. If we're going to get a winter weather advisory, it would come out for this period of time for tomorrow morning's commute. And I think central Kentucky is most likely. And again, sinking quickly down to the parkways, though, as we get into mid-morning, right after the Today Show ends, we should have the majority of your accumulating snow at that point along and south of the parkways. Louisville may already be done. We may still have flurries, but as far as anything with a kick to it, it'll likely already be pushing southbound. So it'll continue to snow in our southern counties. Again, this is now not so much the intensity of the snow at this point. It's more about duration, because now it's starting to interact with what's happening in the Carolinas. So it starts to slow its roll down. It comes in aggressively and then begins to hover a bit. And that hovering will allow for the snow band just to accumulate a little bit more through about early afternoon on Friday, and a little bit longer, obviously, in southeast Kentucky as it begins to pivot a bit more. And then we switch gears. We're done with that. It becomes a Carolina problem then after Friday afternoon. It's out of our hair. However, now we've got to deal with the flow that'll be due north to south. This is going to induce another round of snow showers and flurries that'll be heading in a different direction. So snow tomorrow, almost like the radar is here behind me, but the snow will be approaching from the west tomorrow and then sinking south. By the time we get into Friday night, the snow will be heading from Indiana into Kentucky, kind of two different directions because the wind will change directions. So if you're looking at the wave weather app and you're looking at the futurecast portion of that and you're wondering why everything kind of switches around, that's why the wind direction is pretty abrupt on switching around to the north, which is the Arctic air, obviously, and that's going to send in more snow showers at times. And Friday night, I think they'll continue even into Saturday. Most models are not even showing it, which is normal. They don't always show it very well. They don't have a lot of deep moisture, but we tend to get flurries, snow showers in this environment, especially off the snowpack. It's very common to see that from Indiana dropping into Kentucky. So I'm not going to be surprised at all to get the flurries and snow showers. Now, that's important, though, because this will impact the actual temperature. If we stay mostly cloudy Friday night into Saturday, I don't know if we're going to get a lot of below zero numbers here. We may get into single digits, but below zero, maybe. especially Indiana, you probably will. But you got to have a clear sky, light wind to really see the numbers drop. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to end up with some cloud cover and flurries at times. So we're going to get cold. But here's the trade-off. It also means the wind is still going to be strong, gusty winds. So the wind chill is still going to be a factor, but the wind chill is based on what your actual temperature is. So if they both sink down, then your wind chill is going to be more brutal if the air temperature is lower too. If that makes, they kind of go in tandem together and sink down. Wind chill will be worse. Actual temperature, bad, but not as cold as the wind chill will be. If the actual numbers are a little bit higher, so does your wind chill, ends up being a little bit more elevated too. So that's the balancing act we've got to figure out for Saturday morning, especially how clear the sky will be, what will the wind speed be. That affects the actual temperature, and then that affects the wind chill. And you're going to see some fluctuations in our forecast as we kind of get varying data pieces on all those elements. So be patient with us on that. What I can tell you is don't get caught up in all the numbers. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. You don't want to be outside. And you can still get frostbite in any scenario we've painted out. You can get frostbite still in about 30 minutes with this. So it's still dangerously cold stuff. It's just the finer details of what was your actual low, what was the actual wind chill. That's up to us to figure out, and we're working on it. But I want you guys to know cold. Being that time period, I don't think anyone's really going to be out anyway. Most of you will be bundled up in your homes, which is good. Snow map. Okay, so I think everywhere's got a chance of dusting here because of all the shifting going on with these elements here. But I think up to an inch is possible where that band develops. I went into southern part of the metro because that's when I think it starts to enhance a bit more, but it's already on the move just after 4 a.m. And then we get in on the parkways. Could we end up adding a, a 1 to 2 somewhere in through here? Litchfield, Munfordville area, Campbellsville. We could. It's possible we may have to. I don't think we have enough data yet to put that in, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's going to be a band of 1 to 2. That's probably where I would put it right now. Would be near or even south of the parkway. So I think it's, again, more south you go with these features, tend to be more aligned with the snow band. Any questions on this? Any questions? Adam, you're up there in Bloomington, 13 below yesterday, 8 below this morning. Yee. Yikes. And you got, how much you have on the ground, Adam? It's over a foot, right? I think I heard you say that the other day, or saw you say that. Sometimes y'all talk to me in my sleep. I hear you all the time. Where's Joe Morgan? Joe, where you at, Joe? There's Joe. He says, hello, Adam. I'm here getting ready. Joe is on the East Coast getting ready for the winter storm. So, Joe, you got to touch base with your chat here. I mean, these snow talkers are dependent on you for weather reports. Feel free to comment on this post when it hits on social, by the way. Obviously, send us any video you get, but feel free, even as the storm happens, comment on the same post, even, or the one tomorrow. What'd you say? Planning out the menu, an insane amount of wine already in stock. Starting on Friday night and making shrimp and grits. Oh, you're definitely on the East Coast in the Carolinas. That's for sure. 14 inches what Adam's got there. All right, Adam, up there in Bloomington. Timing it out, Kathy. That's the thing. It's a little tough on timing. It depends on where you're at, Kathy. I think in general, this is going to be developing while you're asleep. When you wake up tomorrow morning, we should have light snow and flurries everywhere. But as far as your accumulating snow band, it will be in the Louisville metro, but on its way out. And I would say and again, end of the Today Show tomorrow morning, it should be hovering around the parkways. And then by lunch tomorrow, still near the parkways, but mainly along the Tennessee border at that point and pivoting a bit more. And you can still get leftover flurries, the rest of us, for the rest of the morning here. I'm not saying the snow is going to just shut off. I think flurries will still fly. I'm talking about the accumulating snow band, roughly 4 to 8 between Louisville and E-Town, and then from 8 until noon south of E-Town. Seems to be a fair window. Give us some wiggle room there. Got a little bit of time on that, but that's what it looks like right now. Do you think they'll warm up enough to melt the snow by mid next week? No, I do not. Hello, Michelle. No, I don't think so. I think we're going to get to the freezing mark, maybe even slightly above, especially for Louisville's a little odd, and we forecast for SDF, the airport, but I have been 5 to 6 degrees off from the airport at my house even this entire week. So while we're forecasting those numbers to get the freezing, some of you in the suburbs outside the Waterston, especially, you may not get to that level. So keep that in mind. It's hard for us to we got to pick a number somewhere. We can't just put a range, that would drive y'all crazy. So we pick a number out, but I know it gets picky when you get to the freezing mark on this. If we get some sun, which it may be tough because the storm track is fairly active, as you'll see here. So sunny days will be a little harder than we've had this week. The sunny days make a difference. If you're sunny in 32, yeah, that will help in a big way. We'll start to hear the melting on the roofs and the gutters. Then we get into icicle land. Oh, get ready. Icicle land's really going to be fun this year. It should start mid to late next week. I mean, giant icicles be coming off your home. Be careful. If you love looking at icicles and stuff and them hanging off your cars, mid to late next week is the time period that will start happening. Yay. Okay. You both are crazy. What happened? Who's crazy? I'm not crazy, am I? There's going to be snow in Owen County, darling. Yep, everybody's got a chance at some snow. You're accumulating snow, again, as the area is highlighted more in the darker gray or lighter gray. And that would be 64 south. And again, I think the Parkway's a little bit more of a kick there. Maybe an inch and a half could fall there. This is not a big one, but impactful, yes, just because we're so cold. At this point, anything that has the chance to cover the ground is going to be a problem. This probably would not get as much attention if we didn't have the setup we do, but this is these can get tricky. Tricky. Okay. All right. So what happens after that? Well, we get into the cold. I mean, this is where we stand right now in wind chills for Saturday morning, 7 below here. Shelbyville 10 below zero. This is certainly cold weather advisory level, but we're pushing it on a warning. We're pushing it. I think it will depend on cloud cover and how low we drop the numbers down, actual numbers, to see if these push over the line. But either way, don't get caught up on the alerts and warnings. It doesn't matter at this point. Just know that you just don't want to be outside. Stay in. Limit your time. And if you have to be out, don't have any type of, cover all your exposed skin up the best you can so you don't get any worries on frostbite. Easy enough, really. Just follow those rules and don't worry about the numbers. Okay, so here is the storm on the East Coast. There is the piece of that polar vortex. Whoops, sorry about that. Piece of the vortex, again, right over the Ohio Valley. There's your snow falling in the Carolinas. This is going to get so much national attention. For once, the social media posts will be wild, but won't have much to do with us. It's going to be nice, get a little bit of a break. But it will be wild. I mean, Carolina folks, I can say that because I used to live there. Carolina folks are just different when it comes to snow. It is going to be wild. And the terrain is so wild because you go from the mountains to the beach. So you get a high variance on impact in this scenario. And you have a lot of wind as well. But this will be snow that can go all the way, certainly will go all the way to the beaches. So that's what's going to get the attention probably for it. Okay, it moves out. All right, we got another wave, like a warm front feature. The core of the Clipper is actually in Wisconsin. The only issue I got here is the southern part of this. I'm not seeing moisture values as high as you snow lovers want them to be, and it's moving fast. So I don't think this is going to do much here. You could get a light coating, maybe a half inch out of this. I'm not going to roll that out. It would need to slow down to be a little more impressive. But I think it's moving so fast that it'll have problems. But once again, look at the clock. I know schools are like, are you kidding me? 9 o'clock in the morning, Monday. So another impactful light snow at a bad time. Again, not about the amount, about time. So I'll worry about that later. It could be, it's changing on speed a little bit. So it may be more Sunday night. It could be after rush hour Monday, but it's in that window. It is absolutely in the buffer zone. So we'll watch it. All right, it scoots on by. Then here we go with the wave that's going to have a little bit more of a southern piece to it. And what's interesting today is Euro is trying to do the loop-de-loop. It wants to try to phase these two pieces. At the moment, they all appear to be moving too fast for that to happen. So you don't get a lot of deep moisture here. If we see this evolve and slow down a bit more, maybe a little more of an impressive setup, perhaps for the middle of next week. But at the moment, they appear to be disjointed and speed is a problem. They may show a mix of time. I'm glad to see the models are trending more on the snow on the northern side because they're hopefully catching on that there's still going to be snow here on the ground. So you can't just erase that from the, can't just go poof, it's gone. It's there. So that is going to have some impact. Yes, you can still warm up like we saw with sleet. You can still warm the air above your head. That's absolutely fair. And that can indeed happen. But you're not going to change the conditions at the ground level. So even if we warm into a rain scenario, we melt the snowflake, it will still be an icing scenario at the ground. At the moment, it looks like the cold layer will be thick enough to keep it all snow. But I think it's one to watch, certainly, but nothing to get alarmed about. If I get a little more excited about, that it's a bigger issue. But right now, I'm not. I need to see a little bit more proof of speed on these features because every model is a little different on that. There's some that completely miss this, to be honest. So that's why I don't want to get too worked up on it. It moves by. We do have another clipper that will move in. It looks like the end of next week. That could give us some snow. Look what happens, though. Did you see that? Let me wind it back. Joel, hope you're watching. That wave, as it heads east, does try to develop another snow. It tries to deepen again because it hits the ocean. As soon as you take a system, you slow it down when it hits the thermal gradient along the beaches like that. It slows down and deepens. And then you're back to a near exact scenario. Again, that is brutally cold, but you could get another chance of snow in about a week or so from now. We'll worry about that later for them. All right, then we get some, flurries as we head in toward, as I mentioned, towards Super Bowl weekend. And I should mention, by the way, let me back up. Monday, let me back all the way up. All right, Monday too, by the way. You know what Monday is, right? Everybody know what Monday is, right? So who's going to type it first? Hi, Steve. Hey, Gary. Hi, Kayla. Hello, ZK. Monday is, there's a delay, so I have to wait. Weather Geek and Carrie. All right, about the same time. It is Groundhog Day coming up. Yay. On Monday. All right, so then we go into, let me move this again. We get into next Thursday, the 5th. You guys know what the 5th is, right? Don't Google it. Don't be asking Alexa. Your mom's birthday. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Friday. Excuse me. Yeah, is it Thursday? No, it's Thursday. Thursday, February 5th is National Weather Person's Day. It's the biggest day of the year, guys. How could you miss this? The biggest day of the year. Huge. Like, it really should be like a federal holiday. It really should be. Anyway, just want to mention that. All right, after this, we do try to warm up. Yes, we could get closer to 40, maybe, but we're not done with the cold air. As we've alluded to, more cold attacks will be coming. We'll worry about that later. Here's the matrix. We show you guys that in the 10-day matrix. Oh, boy, it's a mess, isn't it? I mean, there's stuff all over the place. So here is tonight into Friday. Okie dokie. There's the hint of Saturday flurries. Here is the Sunday wave of flurries. Here is the midweek setup. And notice it's a little more aggressive on it because, again, it has a little more moisture to work with. So it's just a matter of, can we get this to slow down in phase or not? Maybe. And then you get in the backlash of that, which would be another light snow potential toward National Weather Person's Day. And then after that, yeah, they get a little more spaced out. I mean, they're not done. When you see a complete empty out and there's nothing here, then you know you're in a big time warm up. Well, that's not the case. It's just certainly lessening. So it gets a little iffy, obviously, down the road. But no doubt, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 snow chances, technically, that we have just in the next 7 days alone. All of them look light. The middle of next week is the period, I think, if there's anything that could be a little interesting, that would be then. All right, let's get into it. 10-day and get some questions. I got to run. All right, the alert day that we got, it will kick in tomorrow, mainly because of the impacts and the light snow. And then we're going to transition from the impacts of the light snow to the wind chill issue for Friday night into Saturday. And then right now, we do not have any other alert days in the extended. Could they get issued? Absolutely, because it'll be almost a similar scenario that we have for tomorrow morning, where there could be some impacts at rush hours that could develop. We'll be optimistic and get us above freezing as we head toward next weekend there. I think right now, how many hours are we at? Below freezing. We are 156 hours now consecutively below freezing. Record is 408. We could double this in the way the forecast looks, possibly, but I don't right now think we're going to get to the record, but we may get in the top 10. Couldn't get into the top 5. It is possible. I'll just put the 10-day back up real quick, and then I'll ask some or answer some of your questions. All right. Gary, when do we officially turn around, warm up? It's going to take some time. I think it'll be after Valentine's Day to see anything significant. But even then, I was showing Carson some of the new long-term data that was coming in was still cold air on March 1st. So it's going to be a bit of a pain to get out of it this year. The snowpack will play a role too. How quickly that can erode away will allow a bit more of a confidence in warming up. But right now, as long as it sticks around, we got to watch every little system like a baby. Michelle, we'll be warm enough. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, Michelle, I missed your comment. We'll be warm enough if those kids go back just for one day. Yeah, I think we'll get back to normal. These lighter events can be treated. If it's falling during the time that the buses are out, that's the only challenge they're going to have. And maybe that could be delays instead of closing, but I don't know. My neighborhood it's good and bad. Some parts of it, fine. Other parts of it, you go sideways. Just crawling, your vehicle will go sideways because it's not snow anymore. It's ice. It's compacted down with everyone traveling this week that we've lost the traction of the snow now and we've compacted it down. So now it's really slick. So buses can't really go on that, obviously. So it's a bit more of a challenge for the neighborhoods. But hopefully, if we can try to get the roads to improve in those neighborhoods, we can get things back to normal. The main roads still look good. Just be careful, guys, traveling these light snow events. Please, please, please be good at traveling and pay extra attention. Don't go too fast. Don't be overly confident. All right. Everyone good? All right, I'm going to leave it at that for now. We'll go into more of the longer term. I know you're all asking about that. We'll go into more longer term coming up tomorrow on the blog. So make sure to tune in. Otherwise, I will see you guys coming up on midday at 11 a.m. Take care, everybody.